I woke up every morning with the same feeling in my heart, a feeling that something was missing from my life. People around me saw me smiling, working and moving forward, but they never knew how much pain I carried inside. Sometimes the biggest struggles are the ones nobody can see. When I was young, I believed life would always be simple. I thought if a person worked hard and stayed honest, everything would eventually become better. But as I grew older, I learned that life does not always follow our plans. Sometimes good people face the hardest storms. My childhood was full of small dreams. I lived with my family in a small house where we did not have much money, but we had love. My parents worked day and night to give us a better life. My father always told me, never lose your kindness even when the world is cruel. Those words stayed with me forever. As years passed, our situation became more difficult. My father became sick and could no longer work like before. The responsibility of the family slowly started falling on my shoulders. I was still young, but I had no choice. I had to leave my dreams behind and focus on survival. Every morning I would wake up before sunrise and go to work. I worked long hours sometimes without eating properly just to make sure my family had enough food. My friends were studying, enjoying their lives and planning their futures while I was fighting battles nobody knew about. There were nights when I sat alone and cried quietly. I never wanted my family to see my weakness, so I always showed them a strong face. My mother would ask me if everything was okay, and I would smile and say, yes, everything is fine. But inside I was breaking. Years went by, and I became used to hiding my pain. I forgot what happiness felt like. My only goal was to keep my family safe. I stopped thinking about myself because I believed my sacrifices would one day bring peace. But life had another challenge waiting for me. The person I trusted the most betrayed me. Someone I considered close took advantage of my kindness and left me when I needed support. It hurt more than any financial problem because I realized that not everyone who stands beside you truly cares about you. I started losing hope. I questioned everything. I wondered why. I always tried to do good but still received pain in return. I felt tired not only physically but emotionally. One evening after a long and difficult day, I walked alone on a quiet street. I saw an old man sitting outside a small shop. He looked at me and said, "You look like someone carrying a heavy burden." I was surprised because nobody had noticed my pain before. I sat near him and told him everything. I told him about my struggles, my sacrifices, and my disappointment in people. The old man listened quietly and then said, "A tree that gives fruit is often hit by stones. People hurt those who have something valuable inside them. Do not let their actions change the good person you are." His words touched my heart. For the first time in a long time, I felt someone understood me. He continued, "Life is not measured by how many times you fall. It is measured by how many times you stand again." That night, I returned home with a different mindset. My problems were still there, but something inside me had changed. I realized I could not control how others treated me, but I could control who I became. I started working harder, not because I wanted to prove something to others, but because I wanted to build a better future for myself and my family. Slowly, I began learning new skills and creating new opportunities. The journey was not easy. There were many failures. There were days when nothing worked. But I stopped seeing failure as the end. I started seeing it as a lesson. After some years, my situation improved. I was finally able to provide comfort to my family. My parents were proud not because I earned money, but because I never gave up. One day, I met the same person who had betrayed me years earlier. They looked at me and said, "You changed, you became successful." I smiled and replied, "I did not become successful because of what happened to me. I became successful because I refused to let my pain destroy me." At that moment, I realized something important. The hardest moments of my life had shaped me into a stronger person. The pain I wanted to escape from had actually taught me patience, courage, and the value of kindness. Life never became perfect. Problems still came. Difficult days still arrived, but I was no longer the same person who cried alone and believed everything was against him. I learned that everyone is fighting a battle. Some people show their wounds, and some hide them behind a smile. A kind word, a little understanding, and a small act of care can change someone's entire day. I also learned that happiness is not about having a perfect life. It is about finding peace even when life is difficult. Today, when I look back, I do not regret my struggles. They were painful, but they taught me lessons that comfort never could. They showed me my own strength and helped me understand the true meaning of life. The person I became was built from every tear, every failure, and every moment when I wanted to give up but continued anyway. Sometimes the darkest nights create the brightest mornings. Sometimes the biggest pain becomes the reason a person discovers their greatest strength. And sometimes the story of a broken heart becomes the story of a person who finally learned how powerful they truly are.